are countless studies on heel strike runners who suffered from either knee pain, hip pain, or lower back pain, experienced full resolve of these injuries as soon as they switched to forefoot strike running. There aren't any studies showing the opposite, in that there aren't any studies showing that forefoot strike runners who suffered from knee pain or hip pain or lower back pain experienced full resolve of these injuries when they switched to heel strike running. This is because heel strike running produces all of the risk factors that cause these injuries, while forefoot running prevents all of these injurious risk factors, which is why forefoot running makes it easier to avoid injury on a consistent basis than heel strike running. What's concerning, though, is that some studies get it wrong about forefoot running, and that it's theorized. And I emphasize the word theorized because it hasn't been proven at all that one injury that a heel strike runner may suffer from if they switch to forefoot running is an Achilles tendon injury. The reason that this is theorized is because some of the research shows that when a heel strike runner switches to forefoot running, the Achilles tendon becomes more active. And because it's more active, this increased activation gets misconstrued as making the tendon somehow more vulnerable to injury. The reason the Achilles tendon is actually more active in forefoot running is because there's more storage and release of elastic energy in the Achilles tendon. In fact, efficient storage of elastic energy in the Achilles tendon is more optimized in forefoot running, which means that your stride is more spring-enabled, which also means that the more spring-enabled that your stride is, there's actually more metabolic savings in the muscles, because the muscles perform less mechanical work to move the body forward through each step, because there's more elastic energy loaded into the Achilles tendon when you land with a forefoot strike when you run. This is why forefoot runners look lighter on their feet and they move more effortlessly with less muscular effort, as you really don't see forefoot runners strain their muscles with each step like you often see in heel strike runners. Heel strike runners show more intensive muscular efforts, since landing heel first when running reduces elastic energy in the Achilles tendon, which makes your stride less spring-enabled, and therefore more costly muscular effort is needed to accelerate the body forward. The reason the Achilles tendon is an ineffectual spring in heel strike running is that quite often landing really far back on the heel when running results in a much more extended leg at touchdown, with the foot landing too far in front of the hips, which is the center of mass. This landing configuration impairs the spring properties of the Achilles tendon, because the tendon is stretched out and locked out at landing and essentially can't slacken under the load stimulus being the center of mass or the hips. This is how the Achilles tendon may be prevented from being used more effectively as an energy-saving spring in heel strike running. And that's hardly the worst of it, because there's also higher rates of impact in the form of vertical impact and compressive loading on the Achilles tendon, which obviously increases the risk of impact-induced damage to the tendon. I did a video explaining more on just that, which is linked down below this video in the description box. This distress on the Achilles tendon does not occur in a forefoot strike landing. Forefoot running is significantly safer on the Achilles tendon because, for one, there are significantly less all-around impact forces on the Achilles. For another, there's more controlled foot pronation, which means that the back of the heel is less likely to shift into extreme overstraining positions on account of, unlike in a heel strike landing, in a forefoot strike landing, initial contact area of the foot is much larger because the initial foot placement is actually much flatter, and ground contact time of the foot is shorter in duration as well, of which taken together really limits the amount of time for abnormal foot motions and postures to occur, which in turn prevents increases in bending strain and torque on the Achilles tendon. At the same time, the Achilles tendon is more functionally used as an economical spring, which is what it's actually designed to do in running. It's supposed to behave as a spring that contributes elastic power for functional running, And the mechanical components of forefoot running makes it easier for the Achilles tendon to be more active as an energy-saving spring, which is not a risk factor for injury. Just because the Achilles tendon is being used in a different way in forefoot running than in heel strike running doesn't mean that this difference in use is a risk factor for ongoing injury to the tendon, as some studies will mislead you to believe. The Achilles tendon is being engaged in the way that it should be engaged as a spring in forefoot running, whereas in heel strike running, the tendon is not being used properly because its spring properties are negatively altered while enduring excessive levels of damaging impacts. Most importantly, if a heel strike runner switches to forefoot running and if an Achilles tendon injury arises, it's because of all the years spent heel strike running in cushion-heeled running shoes that's already made the tendon vulnerable to injury. It has nothing to do with the switch to forefoot running. When switching to forefoot running from heel strike running, the Achilles is being used in a way that it wasn't being used before, but it's being used the way that it should be. The tendon needs time to adapt. That's all, just like anything else. But the way that the Achilles is used in forefoot running will not cause chronic injury to the tendon, whereas at present, heel strike running is the real cause of Achilles tendon injury, not forefoot running. Forefoot running just makes more functional use of the Achilles tendon as a spring while engaging more protective mechanics that enables the Achilles tendon to load more spring energy, affording you an extra source of energy without injury proneness to the tendon. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, where you will stay more informed on forefoot strike running versus heel strike running, as well as more informed on the health and the performance benefits of barefoot and minimalist running. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Have fun out there on the roads and trails. Bye for now.